Hello, my lovelies! It's Susanna, and today I want to show you how to solve the equation with the parameter a, element of the real numbers, for x. This is our equation. Our variable x is in here, and we want to solve this equation for x. It is a linear equation because we only have x to the power of 1 here and x to the power of 1 here, so we solve it the way we solve every linear equation. Yes, we have this parameter in here, this a. We will see when we have to take care of it, but first of all, we just solve this equation and see what happens. So, a linear equation is usually solved by bringing everything that has an x to one side of the equation and everything that doesn't have an x to the other side of the equation. So let's bring this part here without x to the left side by subtracting a times x on both sides of the equation so that we get 3a here plus our x minus the ax. On the other side, these two cancel out and only our 3 is left. Now we have here something with an x, here something with an x, but this thing doesn't have an x, so let's bring it to the other side by subtracting the 3a on both sides of the equation. We can do that. A is in here, but we just subtract it. It's fine. So 3a minus 3a cancels out. Then we have x minus ax, and on the other side we had the 3 and subtract the 3a. Okay, now we have everything that has an x on the left side, everything that doesn't have an x on the other side. We want to solve for x, so x is still in two places at the moment. We only want to have it on one spot, so let's factor out the x here. So if we factor it out, what is left in the parentheses? We have this minus here. Then here we had x, so we had 1 x. If we factor out the x, only the 1 is left. And here, if we factor out the green x, only the a is left. On the other side, we can leave it as it was. Okay, this is how our equation looks like now. I wrote it down here again, and we still want to solve for x. So what do? We want to get rid of these parentheses, so we divide by the parentheses. We divide by 1 minus a on both sides of the equation. And now we have to be careful. We divide by something we don't know. It could happen that we divide by 0, and we're not allowed to do that, so we have to take care of it now and make sure that we're not dividing by 0. So the question is, when would this 1 minus a equal 0? Well, let's solve this equation for a. Maybe we bring it to the right side by adding a on both sides of the equation. Then we have the 1 here. This cancels out. And on the other side, 0 plus a equals a. So if a equals 1, then this expression here equals 0. So if a equals 1, I would divide by 0. And I'm not allowed to do that. So this step here, what I'm doing by dividing by this expression, is only okay if a is not equal to 1, because otherwise I would divide by 0. So we make a case distinction here. We do this step only for the first case, that my a is not equal to 1. And my second case, I have to take care of that later. What happens if a really equals 1? So let's keep that in mind, that we have to take care of that later. But for now, we can keep going with this step here and do this. If we do it, we can cancel this part here out and only x is left. And on the other side, we have this fraction and this in the numerator and this in the denominator. We can reduce this fraction here a little bit, not yet, but we have the 3 in here and the 3 in here, so we can factor out the 3 first and see what happens. So if we take this out, what is left in our parentheses? We have the minus here. 3 over 3 equals 1. And if we factor out the 3 here, only our a is left. And we had this 1 minus a in the denominator. And now we can cancel this thing out, and only the 3 is left. So my x equals 3. This is my result for the case that my parameter a is not equal to 1. Then x equals 3 is my solution. But we remember that we have to take care of the second case as well. What happens if a equals 1? So we go back to this equation. We are not allowed to divide by 1 minus a, so we only have the upper part of this equation here. And now we take a look what happens if my a really equals 1. Let's just plug it in. So for my a, I insert the 1 here and here as well. And let's see what happens. 1 minus 1 equals 0. So I have x times 0 here, which just equals 0. And on the other side, I have 3 minus 3, which also equals 0. 0 equals 0. What does that tell me now? Well, it's a true statement, right? So this means that no matter what I insert for my x, I will always get a true statement. So I am allowed to insert every number for my x. So my solution set would just be all real numbers. I'm allowed to plug in any number for my x. The equation will always be true if my a equals 1. And this is then the answer to this question for solving this equation. For a is not equal to 1, my solution set is the set with the element 3. And for the case that my a is equal to 1, my solution set consists of all real numbers. I hope it helped you. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments. I wish you a wonderful day, and I hope to see you in one of my next videos. Take care!